Hello, everyone, and welcome to A New Direction. My name is Jay Izzo, and we do have another great show for you today. Listen, I know so many of you since the last time that Per Sjofors was on, who is known as the Price Whisper. Uh, he was on, and I had a lot of you ask me questions that I could not possibly answer. Only Per should really be answering these questions. And they're very practical questions. Some of you are new entrepreneurs and you're trying to figure out your pricing. How do I price this out? You know, I'm in the service industry. I don't know how to price this service amongst my competitors. You know, I'm in B2B sales and I'm working with corporations and we're new to the industry. We're trying to be competitive. I'm not sure how we can be competitive. Is it our pricing that's in the way? How do we figure that out? And then I have a lot of small businesses say, you know, I want to compete, in the market. I just don't know how to price it, and I can't price it so low that I can't make any money. And at the same time, you know, I can't price. I got to stay somehow competitive. How do I figure all this out? Mm-hmm. And so Per is going to join us today to help us kind of figure that out. This is going to be a very practical price whisperer show. This is a pricing show and we're going to help you out here. And by the way, if you're joining us live, as many of you do, please feel free to write in your questions. Per is going to be happy to answer these questions as they come in, and he'd be happy to do that for you. So please do that. So before we get to him, let's do what we do every week, right? You join us on the show, and if you haven't, I walk you through the 4 areas of your life and check in with you to see how you're doing. We're 4-part people: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual people. And the fact of the matter is, we've got to be working on ourselves every day. If we're not, we don't stay static. We fall behind. The truth is, if we're not growing, we're dying, and we've got to take an active role in our growth, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. By the way, the rating scale is really just a measurement of where you're at, and then kind of just an indication: what can I do to improve my performance? This isn't about, oh my gosh, I'm a 2, I'm forever a 2, and so that means I'm a miserable person and I'm never going to get better. No. You're 2 today. How do we get to a 2.25? How do we get to a 2.5? How do we just make little incremental improvements every day so that we can become better as human beings, and so that we can become better as people, and that we can interact with each other better? Because if we're better physically, we're better mentally, we're better emotionally, better spiritually, guess what? We're better people towards each other. And in this world, if there's anything that we need, is we need to be better people towards each other. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, 10 being, woohoo, couldn't get any better. Physically, how would you say you're doing when it comes to eating right, getting enough exercise, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, right? 5 being average, right? That's your first number. Whatever it is, it's okay. Second number is the mental intellectual number, right? And my wife says it all the time. You can't sit on a couch like a couch potato and somehow magically think that you're going to absorb knowledge that's going to help you grow in wisdom and in who you are and what you do. And, so what do you need to do? You need to be an active participant in your intellectual growth. Reading books is a great way to do that. This is a good one. Just saying.
As it so happens. Yeah.
Yeah. As it so happens. As it so happens. By the way, it says it's a holistic approach to pricing power. Holistic. Mm-hmm. I think that's a pretty good. Yep. Maybe you might want to get into. You know what? But there are other things. Of course, reading, listening to books. And by the way, if you're listening to a book, take notes on the book. Don't just listen to it and forget it. Take notes, right? So you can do something and then take action on it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you feel about your intellectual growth? All right. It's your second number. Third number is your emotional number. And actually, interestingly enough, 2 people, Daniel Goleman and Daniel Kahneman, actually do talk about emotions. Both do. And the truth of the matter is, emotional intelligence, emotional quotients affect us in a variety of different ways. They affect consumers. Matter of fact, I think you can make a really solid argument, as I am a psychological professional, I would make a solid argument that we probably make all our purchases based on some sort of emotion.
Absolutely, we do.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, right. And so, think about this. Think about this for a second. If you're emotionally in a bad place, right? How many times have you gone out and purchased something as a comfort purchase?
Know me.
Pear says no. I've never done that before. Well, okay. Good for you, Pear. Not you. But the truth of the matter is, oftentimes, what we call it. I mean, think about what we do. We call it shopping therapy,
Yeah.
right? That's an emotional thing. Okay, and my life is going down the toilet. I'm going to go shopping.
Mm.
Really? Right? So emotionally, we are connected. Now, there's two ways you got to look at your emotions. One is how well are you able to control your emotions under stress and pressure
Mhm.
when life isn't going well? And then the second piece is how well are you able to tap into and understand the emotions of others so that you can be a benefit to them? Now, listen, businesses, listen to me because I know Pear is going to agree with this. That first part, controlling your emotions under stress and pressure, that's kind of a consumer thing, right?
Mhm.
Where we need to control our spending and we need to control that emotionally. But the second part, which is really for all of us, but especially for businesses, how well you're able to tap into and understand the emotions of your consumer is critically, I think he will say critically important to pricing right.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what you said, I mean, all purchase decisions are emotional.
Right.
And if you're going to be successful in sales, you need to understand the emotions of your buyer, right?
I love that when my guest agrees with me. It just makes me feel so much better. Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you evaluate your emotion, your emotional side of who you are, right?
Well, you started with health, I think, and I would think I'm an 8, right?
Good,
And what I'll tell you the reason. We're all aging, right?
right? Oh,
And
yeah, I'm right with you.
and and one thing that increases with age is the risk for cancer, right?
Mm,
My doctor got me to do a blood test
mm,
that identifies any of about 50 common types of cancers,
mm,
and he came back clean.
mm.
You know,
Yeah,
so this is something new that they've done. I mean, they're looking at the DNA of certain cells in the blood and stuff like that,
right. Yeah,
and they can say, nope, you don't have that cancer, you don't have that cancer, you don't have that cancer, etc.
right. Eliminate,
Long before you get any symptoms.
right, right. Well, this is the thing, right? We eliminate worry. Worry reduces our stress. Reducing our stress makes us
Yeah,
healthier, right? I mean, taking the blood test, right? That's all part of it.
yeah.
And then,
So
yeah, I mean, right? And then there's a final part. There's the spiritual part,
mhm.
right? And a lot of people go, I don't know about the spiritual thing. The spiritual thing sounds weird to me. Well, the truth of the matter is, you have a will, your mind, will, and emotions combined together kind of create the spirit of who we are and can do things that help us go beyond what we think we can do or what we feel we can do or what our body says we can do. That's kind of a spiritual part of us. And the truth of the matter is we live by faith.
Yeah.
I mean, we all do. I mean, you're sitting in a chair or maybe you're sitting in your car right now and you're believing that your car is going to go. That's
Mhm.
faith. If you push the button on your car and you believed it was going to start, or you turn the key, if you still have, I have a Jeep, I turn the key on my car, I believe it's going to start up every time I get into it. Well, that's faith, right? I made plans for my future, right? Matter of fact, my wife and I made plans a year in advance to go to Israel on our 25th anniversary, wound up being in a war.
Mm. Wow.
Okay. So, you know what, though? We had faith that we were going to go do it. We did get there, but
Oh, wow.
for a year, we planned it by
Mm.
faith. Right? Because we're spiritual people.
Mm.
When you see the crosswalk, in the city, and it says walk, you walk across that, believing the cars are not going to hit you.
Yeah. You absolutely. It's the same when you do a purchase.
Right?
You have faith that whatever you're going to buy is going to give you the value that you expect.
Is it going to last?
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth what I paid for?
Mm-hmm.
Am I mean, right? So we're spiritually. So you know, and then there's another part of the spiritual realm that says, when everything is going bad around me, what keeps me centered and what keeps me giving a sense of peace and joy in the midst of chaos.
Mm.
Yeah, it could be God, it could be nature, it could be meditation, it could be a variety of things. The question is it working? If not, maybe you got to change it, and then you got to do something different about it. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how you feel about that, right? So
Yeah, the it's I think spirituality is so important for a lot of people, and but at the same time, it shouldn't go over the top, right?
Right, 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 right.
And the because then it could make then it may become more of a cult.
Right, right, right. There comes a point where it goes so far,
Yeah,
right, that you cannot you can no longer live in the world because you're so involved in the
yeah,
spiritual realms that you're
yeah.
not actually being a participant in the world practically,
Hmm.
right?
That's right. That's
Right.
right.
You're no longer being a practical participant. That the
Or
whole
you make the wrong decisions.
right, right, because the whole point of being centered spiritually is actually to give back to the world.
Mm,
Folks, that's really what the spiritual realm should do, is it should actually make you more of a servant to give to the world
yeah.
rather than to isolate yourself, which so many people do spiritually, is they go, I got to separate myself from everything. And they live in their own little world because they don't want to be good. Right? But that's not what we're supposed to do. Spiritually, what we're supposed to do, we're supposed to be so spiritually in tune that what happens is we're actually doing good for the world, that we're actually participating in the world, that
Yeah.
we're actually making the world a better place. That's when spirituality is at its best.
Can I
So, right?
can I just tell you a little story
Sure.
that I think is funny? I lived in the UK for a while in the 90s, and when you got a letter from any of the the tax authorities or whatever, government, it was always signed with your obedient
Mm,
servant. Sorry, you
mm.
know,
Yeah, right.
not best regards, not anything else. It was your obedient
Obedient
servant.
servant. Yeah. Yeah, and I love that. I miss that. We need to be more like that. I think
Yep,
we all need to be like that. So you've got these 4 numbers now.
yep.
Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, right? They're like the air in the tires of your car. If one of them is too low, the car veers, it's harder to steer, right? We got really cold and one of my tires got really lower than the others. And
Hmm.
I noticed my car started leaning and I was fighting the steering because of one of my tires, because I've got that little pressure thing on my
Sure.
dash that says one of your tires is low. And I had to get it back to the air level in order to make the car ride smoother. But here's the other problem. If all 4 tires are low,
Hmm.
over the course of time, you're going to ruin the car. So now we want to bring them all up to the right height, right? Is what we want to do. And somebody who does that really, really well is my friend, Per Sjofors. He is the founder and CEO of Sjofors and Partners Incorporated in Los Angeles. He's used pricing as a lever to turn around several European and US companies in his 35 years of executive management experience. He's also a member of the Forbes Magazine Business Council, a member of the C-Suite Network, and most recently recognized as one of the top 50 global thought leaders and influencers on sales in 2023. He has been quoted repeatedly in the financial press, including Inc. magazine, The Street, Fortune magazine, Industry Week, Business Insider, and the Financial Times. And he joins us now with his current book for a second time, The Price Whisper, a holistic approach to pricing pricing power. Please welcome to the show, my friend, Per Sjofors. Per, welcome back to the show.
Jay, it's always a pleasure to be on the show, and I'm elated to hear and understand that the first time um, gave you a lot of good feedback and a lot of questions, and maybe most importantly, value to the audience.
You did, and the one thing that came back from the first time you were on the show was, I never thought, I've just guessed at pricing, right? Which you talk about in the book, by the way. You talk
Mhm.
about that. Oftentimes, people are just guessing what their prices should be, and
Mhm.
I had a lot of people say, I would just guessed, or what they did was I looked at my competitors, right, and my
Mhm.
competitors priced it this way, so I just went with what my competitors went. And I know that you say in the book, they probably guessed too. So
Yes.
you're working off of their guesses. So I want to start with the new entrepreneur
Mhm.
who's trying to figure this out. They're, I'm thinking about some folks from one of the universities who I talked with, who is starting his own new entrepreneurial thing. And he says, how do I figure out how I'm going to price this thing? What is it that I got to do? Because I don't want to price myself out of the market. I don't want to give it away either, but I'm brand new. I don't know what to do. And he's more of a service industry. So, Per, let's start with him. What would you recommend to him to do?
Well, if you're brand new, and this really goes back to the subtitle of my book, and that is that we have to look at pricing holistically, right? And what that means is that everything you do matters when it comes to pricing.
Mm.
It matters how you market. It matters how you position yourself. It matters how you approach customers, which channels you use for marketing, which types of how your sales methodologies and so forth. So everything matters, and pricing doesn't live in a vacuum. Now, having said that, if you're a new start company, and I did this with my company when I started, I went to some CEOs I happen to know, right? And so what we do in my company is obviously we do something called pricing research, which is we go out to a market, we find with great accuracy what the market is willing to pay, so we can predict sales volume and revenue at different prices. Now, what did I need when I first started? I didn't have anything, right? I had an idea on how to do this process, but I happen to know some CEOs in sort of smallish to mid-sized companies, and I said to them, "We will do one of these projects for you for free." Right? And we would learn from it. We would be able to make sure that we would learn from what learn if the idea that I have actually worked, right? And if it gives you value, sorry about my camera. If it gives you value, I want you to be a reference. And so then I started the company. 3 months later, I had 3 references that I could show paying customers.
Right.
And without those references, I probably wouldn't have been able to close deals with those paying customers.
And then, so by the way, that's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. You basically offered. I guess it falls under the category of what you call freemium.
Yeah, it does.
Right?
Yeah,
right. It falls in the category of freemium, right? Because you talk about that. I think it's in chapter 5.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think about that, right? But what you did was you didn't just offer it for free. You did, but you said, "Okay, I'll do this for free, but I want you to give me a reference."
Correct.
I see. That's it. It's almost that's actually that's actually brilliant, because basically what you did is you got tremendous value out of doing something for free.
Yeah, correct. And it's the same with once you're a little bit established, and you have this pricing conversation, closing the deal conversation, and your customers say something like, "But you got to give me a higher discount." You say this, you do the same thing. Yes, I can give you a discount, but you have to give me an endorsement.
Yeah. Okay. You're not really giving it away for free. It's just it's not costing them cash. It may be costing them time. It may be costing them intellectual capital, but it may not be costing
cash.
Cash capital. Yeah. See, that's good. I hope everybody picked up on that, because that's really good. That's really, really good. We're just getting started here with Per Sjofors, The Price Whisper. A Holistic Approach to Pricing Power is the book. By the way, I've read it twice. It's a fabulous book. I've dog-eared it. I showed Per all the highlights, and then I've got 30 some odd pages of notes here that we're never going to get through today.
Hmm.
But I may keep him here till next week anyway to do it anyway, just because I like him so much. But you're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, folks, Epic Physical Therapy, whether you're recovering from an injury, surgery, suffering everyday aches and pains, having difficulty performing activities of daily living, maybe you're a professional athlete or athlete that just wants to improve. The Epic team will provide you with a customized treatment plan just fits you. So when you're ready for your epic relief, epic recovery, epic results, don't look any further. Go to epicpt.com. That's EPICPT.com. And Linda Craft Team Realtors for more than 38 years. Matter of fact, going on the 39th year. They have been helping people all over the world transition in life. And that's because every time you move into a house, it's always a life transition. Every house you've ever lived in or moved out of is a life transition. It always is. And they know how to take the stress out of that. So when you're ready to make your next life transition, whether you're selling your home or buying your home, you know what? Do yourself a favor. Go to lindacraft.com. That's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with my friend Per Sjofors, talking about pricing. One of the things you say in chapter 4 is that every company has a pricing strategy, even if you don't fully realize you have a pricing strategy. In fact, you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's true because everybody walks in the door and they've got some idea of what they want to price. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they take and what you call a simple pricing strategy. And sometimes these simple, well, I guess you would say almost all the time, simple pricing strategies have some very serious flaws that reduce company sales and they leave money on the table. So let's help out let's take an example of a small business. They're a small little retail business that started, and they're down at the beach, and they sell all sorts of things for beach houses, right? Like the little, things that people put on their walls, or maybe some small furniture and things like that. And there's other competitors in the area. And so they're out there. How should they start thinking about pricing in terms of what they're pricing in terms of those products and in comparison to their competition?
Well, in retail, right, isn't there a saying something like stack them high and sell them cheap?
I completely forgot about that, but that is absolutely true. I remember working in retail. Yes, that's true.
And so if this company want to be really, really profitable, you do exactly the opposite, right? Now, imagine if you go into a fashion retailer on Fifth Avenue, right, where nothing is affordable. Do they stack them up and sell them cheap? No, they don't. No. They let every single product stand on its own. They make it unique. They make it special, right? Compared to if you go into, and in this particular case that you just talked about, it just means that don't flood the store with trinkets and little furniture and stuff like that. Make sure that you have a display that looks like a room, and that that you don't overwhelm people with choices. And there is a now I'm taking this from memory, so the numbers may not be exact, but there's a famous experiment that was done some 10 years ago, so maybe 15 years ago, where they put, this was done in a university, I think in Chicago. They put it on the table with 5 or 6 different kinds of jam, right? And they all came from the same vendor, and they put a price on it, whatever that price was, and out of the people that came up and looked at the jam, right, something like 25% bought.
Mm.
Then the next day they redid the experiment, but this time it was with 30 different kinds of jams,
Mm.
right?
Right.
About the same number of people came up to this desk, and less than 3% bought.
Mm.
Too many choices.
Paradox of choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Paradox of choice. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I seem to recall, was that Dan Ariely who did that? Did
It
he do,
wasn't. No, it wasn't
he
him.
did,
I actually have the study.
I thought Dan Ariely also did something similar to that
He
one.
probably did. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but it's, I mean, it's a like you said, the paradox of choice. It's a and you know, again, we go back to that little retailer on the beach. How many of these do you see that is so full of stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, that you can't see the forest for the trees.
Oh, right, 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 right. And it's so true that when you walk into Tiffany's,
Hmm.
right, everything has their own space.
Yeah.
Nothing is crowded.
Yeah.
Everything has their own space. Matter of fact, we were in Greece when we had to get out of Israel, and we were in Greece, and we went shopping, and my wife needed sunglasses,
Hmm.
right? And so it's interesting that when you walk into, and I was actually thinking about this because I was watching how this was. What they do with the glasses in these really fine sunglass stores, or
Hmm.
right, is everything is pretty spread out so that you can kind of see everything.
Hmm.
There are choices, but they're pretty spread out. They don't show you their entire inventory.
No.
They actually give you a taste of it, and then they've got these drawers that you don't see, where all of a sudden they pull out these drawers full of
Yeah.
inventory, where they're going, oh no, well, we've got something similar to that. How about this color?
Yeah.
Right? Because they don't show all the colors. They give you an idea.
Hmm.
And if you kind of like that, well, we can tweak that a little bit
Hmm.
through the drawer. And I found that to be interesting. And then you walk down to a place that sells less expensive, I won't say cheaper, but less expensive sunglasses, right? And that's not the only thing they're selling. They got this tube rack, I like to call it, that you can spin around, that's got
Yeah.
all the sunglasses on it, right? But then there's baseball hats and t-shirts and it's just full. I mean, it is a how do I say this? It's sensory overload
Hmm.
with everything that you have going on there, right? And you don't want to purchase sunglasses from
No,
there,
no, you don't.
right? And I think that's what the point you're making, right?
Yeah, exactly. And not only that is if you have a limited number of choices, your sales staff can actually interact with customers.
Mm.
And what that means is that you don't leave the buying decision up to the customer only,
Mhm.
because you will have a chance to interact with the customer, right?
Right.
And you can also afford it because you're not going to sell stuff at low margins.
Right. Right. Right.
This requires discipline, a
Right.
tremendous discipline.
Yeah, well, and I think people find it risky, don't they? I mean, is that what you have found? Is that they don't want it, they almost feel like it's too risky to do that?
Yeah,
I mean,
because it's like when you fill the store with stuff,
right.
the easy thing to think is that there's going to be something for anybody,
Right. 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 Right.
right?
Right. Right.
But
Right.
again, if we go to retail, I think the average grocery store have something like 60,000 SKUs, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Trader Joe's have 3,000 SKUs, and they also have the highest per square feet revenue of all retailers in the US.
Isn't that interesting?
You know,
Isn't that interesting?
they don't have 50 kinds of red pasta sauce.
Right. 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 Right.
They
Right. Right.
they have two.
Right. 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 Is it, this is interesting. Now I'm thinking about a restaurant example, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is something really cool about a restaurant that has a very limited menu, but everything is fresh
Mm-hmm.
versus somebody who has everything on their menu, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
right? I mean, you're willing to pay. You're almost willing to pay more because you know that, okay, this is a very limited menu. They're only getting what's fresh right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're willing to pay more because you know it's going to be absolutely fresh
Yeah.
versus going to the restaurant that's got 4 or 5 pages of entrees to choose from.
Yeah, I mean that's why I don't go to a deli.
Mm.
I mean, a deli menu is like they have 250 different dishes. I mean, what could be fresh?
uh,
Nothing.
well, no, you know what?
And
I
they,
yeah, right. Okay.
yeah, and they probably have like 5 dishes that they're selling a lot of, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
maybe a dozen dishes they're selling a lot of. And the rest there just sits in either in the freezer
Right.
or in a fridge somewhere and just age.
Which is not good. There's
No,
nothing good about that at all.
no.
Uh, Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. Right. Okay, well let's talk about something else that's really, let's move to another scenario.
Mhm.
That I want you to kind of walk us. That was, by the way, that was really good. That was really, really, really good there. All right, so here's another scenario. Um uh we got higher inflation now.
Mhm.
And uh I'm in an industry where I have I'm in a sales industry. Let's just take something like insurance or real estate, right?
Mhm.
Something like that where you don't have a lot of sales room. You have some, but you have, and inflation's gone up, and there's fewer customers available because the cost of housing. You have low inventory. You have higher interest rates and everything. Um, how do you price your service in that kind of scenario?
Well, insurance is so highly regulated that you don't have any wiggle room.
Right, and largely the same true in real estate, right?
Yeah. So, um, so the it's all about. Let me give you a little story.
Okay.
Which we talked about restaurant, and this is a restaurant story. Yesterday, the New York Times had an article saying that in restaurant dining, in like the McDonald's, the Chick-fil-A's, and those guys are down 30%,
Mm,
right?
okay.
What's up 50% or thereabouts is pickup. So the whole restaurant industry is going through a mega change in how they. It's not delivery; it is pickup,
Mm,
right? And what it means is that is that the restaurant, you must follow the market, right?
right.
And you must follow the market and adjust your restaurant so that it's more. You don't need as many tables anymore.
Right.
You don't need as many as pay rent for big portions of real estate that you're not going to use.
Right. Right.
You need to focus on um, having apps that allow people to um, make a purchase, pay in the app, and then pick up.
Then pick up. Right.
I mean, have you been to a Starbucks lately?
Yes.
And you'll
Yeah.
see, I mean, they have these. They've started to have these huge desk with different sections,
Right.
just for pickup.
Yeah. No. No. You go on your app. Right.
Yeah,
You go on the app. You do it, and you pay for it on your app, and then you go, and it's got your name on it.
yeah,
You
exactly.
just pick it up,
Yeah.
and you avoid the line. Uh, Dunkin' Donuts does the same thing.
Hmm.
You
No,
know.
I'm sure they do.
Uh,
But what I'm saying is that there's you started to talk about inflation,
right.
and obviously when there is when there is a complete shift in the purchase behavior of your customers,
Mm.
you better move with that shift.
Right.
And if you're in real estate and you see fewer customers, maybe, where have they gone?
Right.
Is it that your way of doing business is not as attractive anymore,
Mm.
and they go somewhere else?
Right.
Is it that, I mean, we, because of inflation and because of the high interest rates and so forth, people are buying less houses. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
Although I read today that it's actually getting a little bit of a recovery now as
Mm.
inflation has gone down, and we don't see further hikes on interest and so forth. But it's all about understanding the customer.
Right.
And if the customer behavior change, you got to change with the customer behavior.
You know, this is the great point that you're making here, and that is, you ask a very simple question that I'm not sure we've asked, that people ask, and that is, where has the customer gone?
Yep.
I mean, because they haven't all hidden, because clearly their customers are buying, right? Whether it's real estate or insurance, I mean, people are buying it.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they not buying from you? And if they're not buying from you, who are they buying from?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. I mean, it's a pretty simple question. But why did they choose someone else versus you? And then you make a really good point. You know, another great point, and that is, you know, your business model's not working.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Not
and
working as well as it used to.
as well as it used to, right? And you got to change that. You got to change that. And you know, it's hard for us to admit that, isn't it? If we've done business for any length of period of time, it's
Yep.
hard to admit that, you know what, our model's no longer, do I dare say it, relevant, or it's not as becoming as it once was. Right.
But you know, the biggest problem here, the biggest problem, or why companies have this problem, is that they talk to customers as opposed to talk to the market.
Explain that.
Well, let me tell you a story, right? How this works, and this is a customer of mine from many years ago. They manufacture small batches of drugs for use in clinical trials, and these batches, they brew them like beer, roughly, you know, and it's a U.S. company, but they were metric, oddly enough. So they told us that these batches, they were focusing all their business on 2,000-liter batches because that's what the market wanted. And they had, their website was full of the benefit of 2,000-liter batches, their sales material, every marketing, that was all about the benefit of 2,000-liter batches. And they said to us, other batch sizes is nothing. Everybody wants 2,000-liter batches. And that was because they were very close to their customers. And they asked their customers all the time, what batch size do you want? And they said 2,000 liters because they were self-selected on the company's marketing message, right? And when we actually then got out and talked to the market, we found that 2,000-liter batches was only preferred by a quarter of the market, right? So they were missing out on 3/4 of the market by not having 500 liters, 1,000 liters, 5,000-liter batches. So they were living in an echo chamber. Do you see how that works?
Yeah, right. Because it's kind of like this odd anchoring on one thing, right? We're so anchored on what we're doing here is we're not really paying attention to everything else around us.
In a way, but this is such a it's such a common mistake for companies to talk only to customers as opposed to talk to the market, including customers, obviously. And because, you know, We all make our purchase decisions for a variety of reasons. That's how we select where we're going to buy, right?
Right. So,
Um,
so your advice here, then, I mean, sounds to me like don't rely on your customers to tell you what to change in your market.
no, you need to talk to your non-customers.
You need to talk to your own customers.
No, to your non-customers, to the customers that didn't buy from you.
Oh, well, that can be difficult.
Yeah, of course it's difficult. But it is those that didn't buy and understand why they didn't buy.
Right.
That's where your increase in market share, your growth is going to come from.
Yeah. See, that's really good too, because talk to the people who didn't buy from you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful. His name is Per Sjofors. The book, The Price Whisper, a holistic approach to pricing power, and we're doing some very practical application today from this book that is really powerful. I'm just telling you, you're going to want to have your friends, CEOs, entrepreneurs listen to this show over and over and over again, because you're getting gold from the Price Whisperer, and you're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, folks, Epic Physical Therapy, my physical therapist. I think they should be yours too. Their facility offers the most advanced top-of-the-line equipment, including the Ultra G anti-gravity treadmill, the Normatec compression sleeves, and Game Ready, my favorite, ice and compression, all at the same time. They're trained and certified in the most comprehensive cutting-edge treatments available. Things like blood flow restriction therapy, dry needling, and cupping, and that's just a few. So when you're ready for your epic relief, epic recovery, epic results, don't look any further. Go to epicpt.com. That's EPICPT.com. And Linda Craft Team Realtors for more than 38 years. Matter of fact, going on to 39th year. They have served people all over the world, thousands of people. And if they're independently owned and operated, they would love to serve you. And they are also looking for agents who would like to join their team. So if you are a North Carolina licensed agent in the greater Research Triangle Park area, they would love to talk to you. Tell them that you heard about them on A New Direction, and and get in there and go through the door, and maybe you become a Linda Craft Team agent. And her website, by the way, is lindacraft.com. That's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with my friend Per Sjofors and Price Whisper, a holistic approach to pricing power. By the way, folks, this is a great book. And let me just say a few things about this book before we get back with Per, because I just want to say something. He talks about the pricing process, steps to pricing, disruption, pricing levels. It just goes on and on. These chapters are not long, but boy, they're powerfully packed. Price waterfalls, potential growth factors, differently targeted growth factors, price elasticity, contribution margin by product, client, independent agents, price sensitive meters. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It's a fantastic book. I cannot recommend it enough. I really, really suggest that you get yourself a copy of this. He talks about ethics in pricing, international pricing, internet pricing, sales compensation. All of it is right here in this book. And this is going to be a valuable tool. This is a tool in your toolbox forever. And whether you're starting a new business or whether you're been in business for 100 years, really need to take a look and do a listen to this. Per, is your book on Audible?
No, it's not. No,
it's not.
I need to get it on Audible. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, listen. If you want to hire me to read, I do that type of thing. So if you want to hire me to read for your book, I'm happy to do it, since I've read it twice.
Yeah.
Just saying. If you're
looking, I have to tell you this, that I tried. My publisher said it's always good if it's the author to read it. I couldn't read my own text.
Listen, I've written 4 books, and I struggled through two of the ones that I put in Audible. Yeah. And I struggled reading my own books. It was a struggle.
Yeah, it's hard. I can read somebody else's text.
Yes.
I can talk about stuff, in the book, but reading my own text was just very, it didn't work.
Yeah, it was hard for me too. So don't feel bad. It was very hard. As a matter of fact, it took me so many hours to work through the Audible book.
Mm.
But it's really easy to do. But anyway, just saying,
Yeah.
if you do
No,
want,
that's a good
yeah,
idea.
yeah, if you
Um,
want somebody,
I but can I
you can do whatever you want.
yeah, let's go back to this little retailer on
Yeah,
the beach, right?
sure, yeah, let's do that.
And talk about non-customers, right?
Okay,
So what do you have in this retailer where you have some people come in and they browse and probably 9 out of 10 will just walk out again, right?
right,
They won't buy, right?
right.
So what should think about what should the this little retailer do? Well, they should of course intercept those people as they walk out and
Mm,
say, "Can I ask you a few questions? And here's the fiver,"
mm,
right?
right.
And again, 9 out of 10 people will say no. But you do this for a week or 2 weeks, and eventually you have talked to 50 non-buyers.
Right.
And then you can start summarize. Why did they all say that? And this needs to be a drill down question. I mean, meaning that if somebody says, I didn't like it, you
Mm,
have to ask, why didn't you like it?
mm,
You know, or, well, I looked at this T-shirt, but the size wasn't right, or whatever. Um, so you have to drill down, but it's certainly worthwhile doing.
mm.
And you give them a small monetary compensation, and people are happy to talk to you. Some people are happy to talk to you.
You know what? That's a pretty cool way to, I was just thinking, you could give somebody a Starbucks card,
Hmm.
right? Have a bunch of Starbucks cards and
Yeah,
say,
you can do that.
right? I guess that would work the same way too, right? You just say,
It
hey,
will work this. Yeah, it's Starbucks card or just $5. You
right,
know,
right, right, right.
$5 for 5 minutes.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, because it's those people that you really those people are the ones who are going to tell you the most information. It's not the
Yeah,
people who you currently have
no,
that are going to tell you the most accurate information. It's the people that are not
yeah.
buying from you that are going to
And
give you.
you ask for help. Can you please help me? I saw you didn't buy anything. Can you please help me to understand why?
Mm,
And you ask for help. Most people give you help.
mm. Yeah, you know, I I think this is also the case that we can do in any industry,
Yes.
right? Because I mean, you're, you know, one of the top thought leaders in sales.
Hmm.
And I'm sure salespeople all the time probably go, I don't know why they didn't buy from me.
Hmm.
But what you're really saying is to those salespeople, I'm guessing, is we'll go and ask them
Hmm.
why they didn't.
We did it for my company. Obviously, I have people. Some people buy, some people don't.
Right.
So we reached out to all the people, all the individuals that we've engaged with, we sent proposals to, and that didn't buy,
Mm,
right? And we gave them a little bit of money compensation for answering a short survey that we have created,
right.
right? And we found that the main reason they didn't buy was that the proposals we provided lacked clarity.
Mm,
So we of course have worked on making sure that our proposals are better in clarifying what we do and what they're going to get and so forth,
mm.
right?
Right, 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 right. Yeah, that makes so much sense. I think, I wonder how often, and maybe you can help me. I mean, because you work with so many more companies, I wonder how often we're just afraid to ask the question, or maybe we're afraid of the answer. I don't know. Do you get a sense?
I'm sure we're afraid of the answer,
Yeah.
and I'm sure and many of the audience know that the most common mistake in sales is not to ask for the business.
Mm,
because you can always get a no, and nobody wants to know.
Right.
Right.
No, right. Yeah, we want you to say yes, but we don't want to ask for the business because we're more afraid of you saying no.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a problem.
But
Well,
it's a very common problem.
right. No. You're absolutely right, because it's an issue. There's something that you said in chapter 5, I think it is
Mhm.
chapter 5, and you talk about good, better, best,
Yes. Yeah.
and that we need to reverse that in terms of pricing.
Mhm.
Help us understand going from good, better, best to best, better, good.
Yes. I can never do that so simple as you do. Um, every purchase is made in context with references,
Mm.
and the reason why we want to have this good, better, best reversed is that as we read left to right, the first number that we want to see, the first price we want to see, should be a high number, right? Because that sets a reference for the other two levels
Mm.
that make them sound more appropriate.
Or
Sorry,
more
more affordable,
yeah.
right?
Right.
And it's really interesting. I'm using this example in my presentation. You go to Mailchimp, right? You go to their pricing page, and they have an offer that is, I think it is $249 a month,
Mhm.
and the next level down is $14.99. Nobody's going to buy that $249.
Right.
It just sits there so that the $14.99 per month is going to look really, really affordable.
Right. It's
And
real.
then they have a sort of $5.99 a month that includes so little that you won't get anything for your money.
So it's almost
So
forced choice.
exactly, that's what it is.
Yeah. So you tier your pricing
Yeah,
is
and you should absolutely have good, better, best, and it should be presented best, better, good, right?
yeah, best, better, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so I found that fascinating, because I don't think we think about tiered pricing very often, and yet it's used commonly on the internet.
Yes.
Whenever you purchase a service of some sort, they have you know they offer these tiers. Typically, though, you see them go from good, better, best is what
Mhm.
they do. You're saying reverse that, go best, better, good,
Yes, absolutely.
which is much better. We've done an hour,
Oh,
Paris.
wow.
I know it's gone fast. It always does with you. Thank you for being on the show. Tell people how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, the best way is just do a Google search for the Price Whisper. You get 10 million hits, right? And most of them are me.
Yeah. Most of them are you.
It's my book, is my YouTube channel, it's my company, and everything. So
Awesome. Paris, stay with me. Hey, folks, this was the show. You know what I say? You're in control of 3 things. You're in control of your attitude, your effort, and your resiliency. Life can crumble around you, but you know what? You still could control that attitude. You still control your effort, and your effort is related to your excellence. And there could be a whole bunch of hands trying to help you get back up, but only you decide to get back up again after you've been hit. I'm going to be back next week with another great guest, another great show. It's going to be another great book, of course, too. You know what I say to you all over the world? You had a lot of choices. You chose us. I thank you for that. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Give us a like on your favorite podcast player. Tell DBTV you love watching the show wherever you are in the world. If you're listening to us by radio, tell your radio station, hey, you know what? A New Direction is really awesome. We want to hear more of it. As I say to you all over the world, you know that it is. Ciao, everybody.